Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about how God puts the will and the desire in your heart. Many people think that because they have a desire for success or wealth, that means they're somehow being selfish. They just need to have only enough for them. And as I've mentioned many times, that's the selfish motive. Only wanting enough for you, just for you and yours. And don't delude yourself into thinking that, well, because you want to help your family besides just you, that's not selfish. Of course, your family is an extension of you, so it's just only you caring about you and yours. But when you have an abundance and overflowing, you can do more in the world. And actually, besides this little swamp of you and your family, you can actually branch out and spread abundance abroad. But you can't do that when you're only getting enough for you. And you're sitting there patting yourself on the back because you're mediocre and you're failing through life and you're not having any kind of success because you don't care about anyone else besides yourself and your family. Philippians chapter 2, verses 12 through 13 says this: "Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure." My friend, that will, that desire in your heart, the power to do those things is given by God. Now, he gives you the power to give wealth, but you are the one that has to choose to act on it. We see this in sinful people who are not following God, they're not honoring God with their lives, and yet they have taken the power inherent in them, in their humanity, being in the image and likeness of God, and become great things, made great successes, had great wealth. Why couldn't the believer do even more? The one who's actually obeying God. And I know there's this mythology throughout Christendom that you have to suffer, you got to be miserable, you got to lack, you got to want, and you're somehow learning lessons for the gospel. That's not useful. It's not valuable. And comparing yourself to first century people when Christianity as a whole was just getting started, only had a few thousand followers, to now when the whole world has been changed and there's vast millions of people who follow Jesus Christ, it's not the same thing. And you want and you long for those days of persecution and suffering that is not required. It's not required of you. Stop thinking that, well, because other people aren't persecuting you, you'll just persecute yourself by making yourself miserable, making your life a failure, even though God's given you every single chance to be a blessing and to be abundant. If you're around people that are holding you down, they're telling you you shouldn't be more, that you can't be more because God wouldn't want you to be more. God wants you to be poor and lowly and meek. None of those things are true. Meekness is not this weakness that people like to proclaim it to be today. Being meek doesn't mean you're a failure and a loser. Being meek doesn't mean you're mediocre, that you don't put forth all you can and do everything to the glory of God. That's not being meek. God puts these desires and he gives you both the will to do such a thing and the power to do it. So if you have a desire for even material possessions, or to start foundations, or to build churches, or to build hospitals, or whatever it may be, don't dismiss those things. And what I want to encourage you today to do is write down, what is that desire in your heart? It could be a material possession, doesn't matter, because sometimes you don't see where that's going. So maybe you want a Rolls Royce. Let's just say that because that's an extravagant, decadent thing. But on your way to getting that Rolls Royce, you may meet people who show you this charity they have, and then you may go down that path. See, this is where people get confused. They think that in possession that they're wanting right now is where God's trying to get them. And it might be. But maybe you desiring that possession and going after it will lead you to the real end goal, which is you to start a charity that builds schools all over the world. But you had to desire that Rolls Royce to get you to the point of meeting the people who had the Rolls Royce who happened to have that charity. And I'm not telling you to get a Rolls Royce or get any kind of car. You can drive a Kia. It doesn't matter what kind of car you have. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about your material possessions or lack thereof. It doesn't matter. My point is, don't let that desire be dismissed because you've heard people tell you, well, you shouldn't have nice things. You don't know where that desire is leading you. You don't know what could be the end result of going after that thing. And I know that's not popular to say because people don't want to hear that, but that's true. So maybe there's a desire in your heart for a thing, a material possession, for whatever reason. Listen, it could just be the fact that you're a single mother, you're widowed, and you have 3 children, and you need transportation to get them from school and back. They're having to go, and they're in a dangerous neighborhood, and all these things, and you need transportation. So it could be just a matter of you just want a new car instead of having to ride the bus. So it doesn't matter what the possession is. It doesn't matter if it's not even a material possession at all. Maybe you just want to be able to do more in the world and be more useful and be more valuable. And this happens with people who get older too. Sometimes they think that their value has run out because they're old. And that's not true at all. I knew a lady who was very old and could barely move, but what she could do was crochet. And so she made blankets and sweaters and all kinds of things for women in need. Don't think you can't do something. There's something you can do that adds value to the world, that makes the world a better place. So that when you left the world, it is better than when you came in. Or at least your part that you control, the world around you has been made better because of your presence there. Now I want to go back around to the material possession thing again, because this is what really holds most people up. They're wanting to do great things for God, but they've dismissed completely material things, thinking that somehow holy and righteous and whatever. And it could be, but the reality is most of the time that is self-righteous. Most of the time that is people trying to pat themselves on the back for not having enough. And I'll add, and this is something that people do not like to talk about, but a lot of it's just pure old-fashioned laziness. It's easy to not work and have nothing. That's easy. But if you can do that, not work, have nothing, and then get praise for being so holy and spiritual for doing this nothingness, man, you got it made. You have the praise of men that you want. You're not having to labor like everyone else does. And you can easily excuse your failure and call it righteousness. That's the trifecta for the loser, for the lazy person, for the mediocre, for the failure in life. But that shouldn't be you, and I can't imagine somebody that would even watch a video like this would be thinking that way. And I know some of the people of old get praised a lot. That's the mindset they embraced. Not doing enough, not working hard. Paul managed to minister all over the world and yet still made tents. He was a tent maker by trade. This is something that people seem to misunderstand. Laying around through life, expecting God to rain money from heaven is not going to happen. But he might give you the biggest blessing in the world if you'll simply take some action. So my encouragement to you today is to do one simple thing. For about 5 minutes, write down what desires are in your heart, whatever they are. Doesn't matter what they are. Write them all down. If it's only one desire, that's fine. If it's just getting a new television, if it's getting a new computer, if it's building a hospital in the Amazon, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. It's not about the exact thing. But then start looking for how that is going to lead you down a path. Because that path may lead you to where God really wants you to be. So go after that thing. Seek him, get his wisdom, and go after it and get that thing, whatever it may be. Or start that charity, or start volunteering, or move across the world because you're going to put in some labor helping people, whatever it may be. But act on that desire and watch as God leads you and guides you into perfection, into the best, most blessed life you could possibly have. That's ready and available to you right now It's just waiting on you to act on that desire, because he worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. My friend, I pray it's been a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.